Hey YouTubers, Mike Martin's here with the Mike Martin channel. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and sharing. What's a whistleblower? What does it mean? What does whistleblowing mean? What does the term mean? Well, I mean, first thing that comes to your mind would be like someone that goes out, someone that unveils the truth, someone that declares or shows the truth, someone that investigates and finds the truth, someone that's out there for the people. Well, whistleblower or whistleblowers, back in my time, back in the 80s and 90s, 70, well, I was a baby, but in the 80s and 90s, were journalists. Journalists were the ones that actually blew the whistle. Journalists were the ones that actually went out and found fact and actually investigated a crime scene and actually investigated a money laundering scam or investigated the government in depth and called them out. Whistleblowers, so they're using language today to actually come back and make us look bad. Anyone that thinks out of the status quo or anyone that thinks outside of the norm is a conspiracy theorist. Anyone that doesn't go along with whatever their changes or whatever is a racist. Anyone that goes along with specific things are all labeled with this new language. So, whistleblowers. Whistleblowers today are the true investigative journalists. That's what a whistleblower is. Investigative journalist. You have mainstream news that goes by a specific criteria or status quo. Then you got me, a guy who can't read, so that actually wants to get out and get the message out. So what is happening with whistleblowers, or our state of the art nowadays that we depend on, journalists? That's what they are, whistleblowers. Canada failed to protect whistleblowers, ranks last among nations with protection laws, says report. And this is very true. Who's this coming from? Mainstream media, Montreal Gazette. The study considered whether the whistleblower laws protect identity and protect against harassment, prevent gag orders, and grant genuine day in court. Canada failed on all counts. So there you go. If you're in Canada, and that's why I don't go out breaking stories. I don't go out to locations and try to connect the dots. I've been doing it with housing for years. My life's been threatened a couple of hundred times, but that doesn't scare me because that's all. A lot of it's just hot air. But when the governments are going against people for actually doing proper investigative journalism or calling out the government on certain things, and they end up getting punished. So basically, governments or big corporations or organizations, China is a good example, doing what they're doing in Canada and Australia and all over, and then people reporting on it and getting penalized for expressing the truth or talking the truth. Canada ranks at the bottom of a pile of nations that have whistleblower protections, says the report from International Bar Association. In fact, Canada meets just 1 out of 20 best practices for transparency and review, putting it on par with Norway and Lebanon for the weakest protections and falling well behind top-ranked nations such as Ireland and the United States and Serbia. Let me close this video here. Too often, the rights that look impressive on paper are only a mirage of protection in practice, the study said. The study considered whether or not whistleblower laws protected identity and protected against harassment, prevent gag orders and grant, and a genuine day in court. Canada succeeded in none of those metrics. In a statement this week, Democracy Watch and Democratic Accountability Watchdog, see, these are reporters right here, these people, called on the federal Liberals to strengthen whistleblower protection for everyone in federal politics, including political staff and in all federally regulated businesses. So, Democratically Accountability Watchdog called on federal Liberals to strengthen whistleblower protection. So they want people that are out and about that can tell us what's going on the ground to actually, hey, what are you doing? These are citizens. These are people that actually, their parents and grandparents built the infrastructure. I'm not surprised, said Duff Connery, the co-founder of Democracy Watch, of Canada's international rankings. It's just shows that just again how Trudeau Liberals have failed to protect whistleblowers. Well, again, if you're new or don't understand, Canada's media is state-run. It's owned. It's been bailed out. The CBC, all these companies have been bailed out by federal governments and taxpayer dollars. So they're on a status quo. So you don't have like we have Rebel News. We got other people out there that are actually going and getting arrested and getting the gag orders, getting thrown in jail. Those like we do have, but the mainstream media still dominates, even though, I mean, they're getting shut out of everything. No one's watching them on mainstream media. They get so many thumb downs on mainstream media. It looks really bad. They're asking now YouTube to remove the downs up and downs up, down, thumbs down and thumbs up on a lot of those sites. The International Bar Association cited Canada for being slow to deal with cases, often taking several years, and regularly ruling against whistleblowers. It called against whistleblower laws, first implemented in 2005, nearly entirely dormant. So there was a lot of people waking up the people when Canada, Eastern Canada, Ontario was mass deporting Portuguese families and people born and raised in Canada from Portuguese parents. Canada deported about 47,000 families. It was a mass purging. All the news reports are gone. All the stuff was gone. They went to high schools to take children that spoke Portuguese and getting their parents to meet them there and then putting them on a bus and deporting them on the spot. It got so bad that the Portuguese president asked the federal Canadian government to let them get a bag for clothing to change because they weren't allowing them to do that. So it got so bad. And then there was whistleblowers that were like actually exposing this. And a lot of them actually were charged, arrested, and a lot of them were actually punished for exposing. And these were Portuguese people exposing them. It was other Canadian citizens that were saying, "What are you doing?" But a lot of those people, some people did. I don't know if one or two people did time for that, right? It takes a tenacity of financial resources for any whistleblower to sustain a reprisal dispute over 6 years, only to lose, the report said. In 2017, the House of Commons reviewed Canada's law and made 25 recommendations of the Trudeau Liberals. They have ignored a vast majority of recommendations in late February. The report has sent back to the House of Commons again by the opposition members and the House of Government Operations Committee meeting. Concher said Trudeau's cabinet will have to respond again. The report doesn't go far enough, argues Concher. We need whistleblower protection for everyone involved in federal politics. So people in federal politics that want to come forward and actually expose something, right? So it's not just journalism. It's not everything. Journalism is dead, right? It's called a whistleblower now, right? Now, people in federal politics are afraid to come forward and expose what's happening because they're afraid of doing time. So there's so much of it. It's a big ground. It's a big ground floor, right? The other bill, C-86, is to create protection for whistleblower within banks, but Concher said it hasn't been proclaimed into law yet, even though it was passed in 2018. Again, banks. What's the deal with banks? What do we need to know? Well, let's take a look at Australia. They have a Royal Commission. The Royal Commission went in and only scratched the surface. They scratched the surface. They didn't even go into it. Scratched the surface of what the banking institutions were doing. You had a bunch of CEOs and presidents step down the next day. The amount of criminal and people came forward, but that was the Royal Commission. So let's say Canada got a Royal Commission on its banking system. You know how many bad books and bad deals they'll find in the books? You know how much corruption they'll find within governments? Whistleblowing. The new journalism. Stay strong, guys. Stay free. Be positive. I get a ton of and I talk about anyways. Whistleblower protection is one of the most potent accountability mechanisms you can have, and it's clear the Trudeau Liberals don't want that accountability. The federal government did not respond to National Post's request for comments. Of course they won't. Well, I'm here to discuss this for the National Post, the Montreal Gazette, and whoever it is. This is getting too far out of hand, and if the people can't take back control of their country, it's already lost. Financially, everyone's being forced into homelessness. And they were advertising the other day a beautiful rental townhome, $8,400 a month. They took down the ad. I was going to make a video. $8,400 a month in Vancouver for a townhome in a an okay area. I wouldn't say it's Beverly Hills, but it's not even Beverly Hills. In an okay area, you still get people pushing shopping carts up and down all day long with looking for trash, looking through trash bins. So I just kind of want to throw this out there. What is happening? Uh, who are the new whistleblowers? The new whistleblowers are basically today what we used to call back in the day, journalists. Stay strong, you guys. I have spoken.